Crane, Children at Risk Action Network, our strategy for 2020-2025. It's now 2020 and the world as we know it has been upturned because of the one invisible virus, COVID-19. Every country has been impacted by the virus and the measures that have been taken to prevent its spread. Whilst children seem to be less at risk from ill health because of it, its impact on their lives has been devastating. Globally, the education of 80% of all children has been disrupted for months. In Uganda, for example, 15 million children were sent home from school in March 2020. And only about 1.2 to 2 million of them will go back to school this year. Most of these do not have access to remote learning. For some children, the impact will be lifelong. More households are being pushed back into monetary poverty. The learning crisis for children who are already dangerously close to being excluded from education is now exacerbated. Child survival is at risk due to disruption in service provision and poverty. Malnutrition is on the increase. Risks for child safety as a result of physical and sexual abuse and child labor have increased. These days of social distancing clash head-on with Crane's mission to bring together people that keep children safe. Yet this global crisis demands that we work even harder to protect children. The members, staff and board of Crane began to review the network strategy before COVID-19 hit. The pandemic has been focused on our attention on how we will deliver our mandate and has strengthened our resolve to work together for children. Since the first meeting of Crane's founders in 2001, through its legal formation in 2004, and into 2020, the reason for the network remains the same. We are better together. Today, 193 churches and organizations are working together to tackle the toxic impact of poverty, abuse, fragility, and vulnerability in the lives of 99,572 children. As we embark on this next 5-year stretch and in these uncertain times, we will focus on achieving our shared vision, which is children are safe, well, and thriving in God's plan as they fulfill their God-given potential. Here is 5 ways we would know that this is true in a child's life. When there is feelings of safety in the communities of children. When systems that keep children safe are put in place. There should be developing and thriving of these children in the community. There should be understanding of one's place in God's plan, and there should be capacity to develop in the future. Let's take a look at what this might look like for a child reached by the network. He is a Jess. He was born into a family which is violent and alcoholic. He was abandoned soon after birth. A community worker from one of Crane's members found him and took him to an emergency shelter. Meanwhile, the churches in the network have been looking for families who would foster and adopt abandoned children. When Jesse's case was reported, Crane worked with government officials, the probation officer, to arrange for Jess to go and live in a safe new family as soon as possible, rather than Jess being left in a children's home. Jesse's birth family had to be found and assessed to see if he could reunite with them. Social workers must continue to assess what is in the best interest of Jess. Jess will have a lot to overcome as a result of his traumatic start, and the family who have welcomed him will need a lot of support to ensure that they can raise Jess in a loving, safe environment. What will Crane do to help Jess? He is a Jane. Jane had never been to school. When the Crane community mentor found her, he spoke to Jane and the parents, who agreed that Jane could start attending a local creative learning center where she learns to read and write. After 6 months, Jane is ready to go into mainstream school. But just as she's starting, the COVID-19 lockdown closes schools for Jane. After a year out of school, Jane will need a fast-track program to catch up with learning in order to be reintegrated into school again. What will Crane do now to help Jane to keep learning and get back into school? Here's Josh. Josh is a vibrant adolescent. He loves football and music and just about stays in school because he has had opportunities for his extracurricular interests. These have helped him to remain committed to school. But then school shuts. Josh was determined to become a lawyer, so he could defend the rights of women and children because he had seen how much his mom had suffered at the hands of greedy people. What will Crane do to help Josh stay on track to achieve his dream? No single organization has the answers for a Jess, a Jen, or a Josh. That's why Crane exists. We believe that we work better together. We will be able to help Jess or Jen or Josh to be safe, well, and thriving in God's plan as they fulfill God's given potential by working together. Crane will continue to leverage the collective strength of organizations and churches to share resources and expertise to provide effective, long-term responses to the holistic needs of vulnerable children, whilst working with government to bring about lasting change. Crane members will target 3 focused outcomes. 1. Children will access safe and quality education. 2. Children will enjoy safe spaces. 3. Children will live in loving families. We believe that by targeting these 3 outcomes, we will tackle the barriers of poverty, abuse, fragility, and vulnerability that would otherwise prevent children from succeeding. How will we do this? Crane Secretariat will support the members to build a coordinated, cohesive response. Crane's network building program has 4 key drivers, which, working together, maximize the local Christian response to the needs of vulnerable children. 1. Connecting people. We will inspire local churches and organizations to work together and support each other with a shared vision for children. 2. We will build capacity, which is quality. We will build capacity of churches and organizations through training, coaching, and peer-to-peer learning to increase sustainability and quality of care for children. Delivering collective action. We will mobilize churches and organizations to work together to design and implement joint programs that meet the needs of children on a deeper level than any one organization could achieve alone. City influence for children. We will address negative attitudes and behaviors towards children and engage with decision makers to achieve greater protection and opportunities for vulnerable children. Who can be in the network? Firstly, we do what we do because of our shared values in the Christian faith, which gives us our conviction that children are the heart of God and should be especially protected and prioritized. We serve our children and work with anyone who wants to achieve the same outcomes for children, but at the heart of the network are the shared Christian values. Secondly, any member organization is required to actively pursue ongoing improvement in its policies and procedures, and are required to have a basic child safeguarding policy as a prerequisite for membership. Thereafter, an organization is expected to meet the Viva Quality Improvement System standards, which is QIS, within 2 years of joining the network in order to maintain its membership. QIS covers 6 topics: child protection, child well-being, financial accountability, governance, project planning and design, and people care. Individuals with special skills and interests that can be shared with the network are also welcome to be part of the network. We invite you to join us in the journey for the next 5 years as we seek to give a Jess, a Jane, and a Josh the best chance to be safe, well, and thriving in God's plan as they fulfill God's given potential.